Welcome back to the Cricket Today podcast on Tuesday, January 2nd. Yes, we made it to 2024 and we're excited for some more great cricket across all formats in Australia. I'm your host still, Marcus Bazzano. I'm here today with Leo Mullaly. How you going?
Good, thanks, Marcus. We haven't done this podcast all year. What are we doing?
I know, first one of the year. Let's get onto it. Let's get right into it. So cricket is well underway, unless you've been living under a rock. The third test is set to start tomorrow. We've got plenty of BBL action to talk about. So today we're going to cover all things that have happened in the Big Bash, a very early test preview for Australia, Pakistan, the third test in Sydney, and we'll finish off with a bit of Supercoach at BBL. So let's get right into it, shall we, Leo?
Let's do it.
BBL weekend wrap. What are your big stories? We've missed a lot of BBL over the weekend. Obviously, the last poll was on Friday, so missed a chunk of games. So what caught your eye?
Well, the Gays got their first win, didn't they? Fraser McGurk was outstanding, 70 of 37, just sort of continuing his meteoric rise. And the old-timer Shaun Marsh chipped in with a nice 50 for their first win. Sydney Smash got rained out, which was a bit of a bummer. Stars got their third win in a row with a huge chase over the Strikers. I think they chased down 205, was it, before the last over. So their batting is looking like a real force in this competition. Still not sold on their bowling, but
yeah, agree.
Their batting looks real strong. What caught your eye, Marcus?
Well, definitely. Well, just to touch on the Stars, I think Stoinis as well, making 50, was it 55 or 56 off 19 deliveries. Finished, they needed 20 runs in the last 2 overs, 18 runs in the last 2 overs, and he did it in one. So I think that's really good for his confidence, particularly with the bat, because he really struggled. And I think his price in Supercoach has gone down to below 100,000, I think, hasn't it?
Yeah,
for one of the best batsman bowlers in the in Australia and in the competition when he's in form. There's some great value there, and I chucked him into my Supercoach team before the round started. So. Lucky I did that with the double round hand tonight. But for the rest of the matches that we missed out on, the Strikers, they've only got one win and 3 losses. That's a bit of an underwhelming start, isn't it? Would you have expected more, Leo? Would you expect them to be in the top 4 by now?
Definitely. I think with the talent that they have, especially at the top of the order, and it's not like these guys aren't out of form. You know, Short and Lynn just made 50s. Lynn was 83 of 40. Darcy Short has gotten back to some of his best form. It just seems to be getting let down by maybe a few of their lower order bats and a few of their bowlers. So, I think they really need a kick into gear. They've got the talent though that they can just get on a roll and make finals. So,
for sure, I think another question mark over the Strikers is similar to the Stars is their bowling. There's no doubt with the bat that they can produce Short, Lynn, Short again, the Short bros. They've got plenty in the shed, but as we mentioned in pre-season as well, it's a little bit of missing Rashid Khan, aren't they? He was the guy who could sort of drag them over the line in these sort of close games, perhaps like get the win against the Stars with a handy few wickets or some extra runs in the tail. But the Hurricanes as well, they knock off the Thunder with a well-rounded performance. They've been surprisingly poor, let's say, to start the season. I think they're 7th or 8th at the moment. Not looking great, but again, they have the potential to cause an upset or two, particularly at home. But Supercoach-wise, it's been a bit of a tough round for games being played. Obviously, we saw Sixers heat rained out last night, and there were some questions thrown over the Duckworth-Lewis system. Leo, I'm not sure if you heard this. Do you think it's fair that teams, have 10 wickets in the shed, but have 6 overs to make a certain amount of runs? Should the system be altered, changed for depending on what ground you're playing at, who's in the team? Should more be looked into it to make it a more fair sort of result for both teams?
No, I personally like the system. I think it accounts for the side having 10 wickets in hand by giving them a higher score to chase. It's obviously, I don't think it's going to be a fair representation necessarily of where those teams are at. But I think it's sort of the fairest outcome that you can get from the situation you have. Is there something that we could do differently potentially? Is there a way around it? I'm not too sure. So.
Yeah, I think I was listening to Moises Enriquez and all the boys in the studio for the Heat Sydney game, and they definitely think there's a better way to go about it because it definitely advantages the chasing team more so than the team who plays first in their first innings. So I think that definitely could be looked at, but I mean I like the system as well. I don't think it should change too much, but let's just hope no cricket gets delayed or missed out due to rain anymore, shall we, this summer? Although it looks like it's going to be. We'll get to the test preview shortly, but we'll have a look at the Stars Renegades preview match tonight. What is your best Supercoach pick for tonight's big derby, Leo?
Mine is Dan Lawrence, 125,000. He really impressed me in the opening game that he played against the Strikers. He scored 85 points. And I brought him in before it. I thought Stars have the double. I think he'll bat in the top order. And I didn't expect him to open, actually. So when I saw he was opening, I was quite happy with that. And made 50 in his Stars debut. Just, looked really, really good at the top of the order. Had a nice strike rate too. I think it was off 26 balls. I think, against the Renegades as well. Similar sort of bowling attack to the Strikers in that it's not really threatening. So I think, Lawrence will capitalise again. Who's your pick? I think it's a popular man.
Yeah, he definitely is. I had some question marks. I didn't put him in my team just because I had some question marks over his performance. I know he's sort of struggled maybe with the Big Bash first game coming in. But he was outstanding. But I'm going to look at the other side of Melbourne. I'm going to go with the Renegades player Jake Fraser McGurk at 105,200. We just keep mentioning his praises. He's been excellent so far this season. He's hitting a lot out of the middle of the bat, particularly in Victoria. And as I mentioned, he's just superb value. He's already scored 73, 90, and 88 so far this season. And although I think the Stars will get over the line, I think Jake Fraser McGurk could have a say chipping into the Renegades innings. But Leo, who's winning this game?
Well, just on that Fraser McGurk one, I think Joe Clark's out with that hamstring that he picked up. So I think, Fraser McGurk might get some more time opening the batting, but we'll see on that. So I think that's a great pick, Marcus. Stars will win this. I think it'll be a good game. I think it'll be close. Melbourne derby, maybe. Hopefully there's a bit of rivalry between the two, but it's sort of faded, I guess, in recent years. Zampa against his old team. And also, I think Mujeeb has left the Renegades as well, which is a bit sudden, but I did not see him in their squad for this game. So I think all signs sort of point to the Stars winning this. I think it'll be close, though. I think you've mentioned the Stars as well.
I am. I think they got more match winners in their team. I'm looking at Glenn Maxwell, Marcus Stoinis against the Strikers, but even looking at they've got big all-rounders who can change a game. And I'm looking at Bo Webster as well. I think he could have a big influence tonight. He's got the ability to take a few poles and he can hit a ball very, very cleanly. As we saw, I think he hit one into the top tier or the second tier in his innings against the Strikers. Chris Lynn, credit to him, he also hit one into the top tier. There was some great hitting and some great scoring on a good batting deck in that game. And I just hope that we get to see more of the same tonight. And you touched on Mujeeb. It looks like, the Afghanistan Cricket Board made a decision to deny a no objection certificate, an NOC, to Mujeeb. So he's, was set to face the Melbourne Stars tonight, and the Renegades had to issue a statement saying that there's been a change to his no objection certificate conditions, which is making him unavailable for this match. And I think that's a huge out for the Renegades. I think he was one of those players who has the ability to keep the strike rate and economy down for the Stars batting. And as we've seen so far, the Stars has really struggled with spin. Even though they chased 200, they struggled with Cameron Boyce for the Strikers not long ago, and they've just really struggled to handle spin. But nevertheless, I think I think the Stars in this one could have the say over their crosstown rivals. But we'll move on to the third test between Australia and Pakistan, set to kick off at the SCG tomorrow. Leo, will you hit us with a yeah, nah?
Will David Warner finish his test career in style with a century? Yeah, nah.
As much as I'd love him to, I don't think he will.
Boo.
I just think I don't think he will. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I would love him to. He's just been pretty unlucky. He was unlucky in the Boxing Day Test match, chopping on. As we saw, great scenes. Got a standing ovation when he was getting walked off. But I think the weather is going to have a say in this. I think it's going to be great bowling conditions throughout this Test match, particularly with a lot of rain, a lot of cloud. There will be a lot of interruptions of play. And I just think it's just a bit sort of the high build up and not really a lot out of it comes out of it. So a lot of high expectations, but I definitely want him to, but whether he can and will is a different question. What about you, Leo? Do you think he'll break 100?
Yeah, I reckon he will. I'll back in Davey. He'll rise to the occasion. He normally does, and on his home deck, he'll want to make a score, and that'll drive him, I reckon. And I reckon, what did he score? 154, 164 on the first test. I reckon something similar. Yeah. I'll back in Davey.
Well, that's a big call there from you, Leo. And talking of big calls, is a perfect segue. What is your big call for this third test?
Well, this is kind of goes into it, but Warner and Khawaja will put together a 200-plus opening run partnership. I mentioned Warner will rise to the occasion of his last test, and that hunger to succeed will drive him. But you look at Khawaja, he loves batting on the SCG. He has a fantastic record there, and I think it's due to the SCG typically being a slower wicket, and Khawaja loves batting on slower wickets. He's a fantastic timer of the ball, great player of spin. And I just reckon this will be a big opening run stand, and that's my big call. You've gone a bit differently, Marcus.
I have gone a bit different. But I think the Sydney is going to be questioned about holding a potential deciding test match, like the fifth match of the series, or for the Pakistan. Although the series is already tied up at 2-0, they hold the third match of the series. But I think they could be questioned over hosting that. 26 days have been washed out compared to the second worst in Melbourne with 9 days washed out, and that's a big difference. And the weather isn't looking great for the upcoming Test match. I think there could be a few days rained out as well. So if it was 1-1 and this was the deciding match, let's throw this to you, Leo. If we know that the weather's not going to be great in Sydney, say with a week or at the end of the second Test match, is it worth perhaps moving the Test match to a different state, say to Adelaide Oval for the deciding match? They've always been superb with hosting Test cricket. They were superb with the New Year's Eve match between the Strikers and the Stars. They are every year. Do you think that, if a deciding match like that, if it were 1-1, should it be moved?
No, I just think that's how it goes sometimes. I think the Sydney Test match is it's known as the New Year's Test match. I really like the history around it. It's obviously got Jay McGrath Day, which is fantastic, and I think I'd keep it the same. I think it sort of means more than getting a result in a Test match series. I think you might be leaning differently.
Yeah, well, I think some question marks will have to get thrown in there. Whether it's, early weather calls, whether we kind of have to throw in an early prediction about the weather out there just to have a look and maybe switch around some of the venues. I don't think it would hurt too much. I think Sydney's still going to be a fantastic cricket occasion no matter what. Obviously mentioned Jane McGrath Day. It's an excellent cause and always a great initiative. And yeah, it's great to see Pink Day, everyone get on board. But I think everyone just wants to see cricket being played over the summer. and particularly Test cricket, because I think Test cricket is slightly going down. I think we saw, I'm not sure if you saw this, Leo, but co-worker sent this to me, Kyle. The South Africa, cricket board. A lot of their players are playing short formats and ditching the Test team. What are your thoughts about that quickly, Leo?
Yeah, I think it just shows what you just mentioned in that Test cricket is slowly, I guess, deteriorating. I think England, Australia, and sort of India, those sides that could probably keep up with it for a bit. And then you've got sort of the sides that are a bit below it who have players that are a bit more inclined to follow the shorter format and maybe where more of the money is. So it'll be interesting to see how it all, I guess, plays out going forward because, it can't mean good things for Test cricket.
No, definitely not. I think we've got Australia. I think Australia, India, England, perhaps even New Zealand. Like perhaps those bigger nations will be the only ones playing Test cricket, and obviously Pakistan moving forward. But South Africa just quickly picked 7 Test debutants, including the captain, which is unheard of. Yeah. While their big stars play domestic 2020s instead. I think that's really alarming considering, particularly us, we want to see everyone playing Test cricket. It's the pinnacle of cricket. It's where not only your ability but also your tactics and your mind have to come into play because it's a great battle of mind as well. But yeah, that was big early preview for the third Test, and that wraps up the Cricket Today show. We'll be back with this tomorrow after hopefully seeing some cricket on the we'll be here before the Test starts. We'll give you some more info and preview before the Test starts, but after the Big Bash, we'll wrap up the Big Bash Derby game. So get right around this show on the social, subscribe to on your podcast apps, Spotify, Apple, etc. Just give it a like and review. If you've got any questions, send them into the socials. And I think that's it. Thank you, Leo.
Thanks, Marcus. Good to be back for the new year.
It is. Oh, I hope you you partied well. Had a good hangover yesterday, as well as you, Gerald. Thank you for producing. And also thanks to me, who slept until 12 o'clock, woke up for the fireworks, and then went back to sleep. That's another episode of Cricket Today out.